This is big breaking news. Multiple major cities in the United States of America have declared emergency curfews. And this really feels like the collapse of the United States. This feels like the collapse of our society as a whole. Things keep degenerating, and this is a tipping point that we are reaching. And I really am worried that this summer is going to be very extreme and very intense for a lot of different reasons. And we could see these curfews spread to even more cities, and we could see violence and riots, things like this spread, looting to even more cities, because multiple cities in the US right now are dealing with mass looting, mass rioting, and even more cities are declaring emergency curfews. And some cities, the cops are even saying that they will arrest anyone that they catch outside of this curfew. All right, so things are getting serious. The police state is clamping down, and it's on purpose. This is a degeneration of our society. Things are going to get worse and worse, a progression, right? This is a slow motion collapse of our society that we are seeing, and we are going to see these mass rioting, looting events happen more and more. And we're going to see a bigger and bigger police state in response. This is engineered to collapse the United States from within. All right. So let's get into some of the details here. Multiple cities, there's mass looting going on. So stick with me here. And then 3 different cities, major cities in the US, have declared emergency curfews. And another one is talking about implementing a curfew as well. So stick with me through all this news, because there's a lot of big breaking stuff, and it's important. All right. Our society is collapsing right in front of us. It has been in decay for decades, and we are really reaching a tipping point, and everyone can feel it. I can feel it. I've just been feeling it lately. Anytime I have to go into the city, it feels like everyone is high stress, everyone is high strung, everyone is just feeling it, feeling the stress, feeling the heat right now. And the cities are a massive boiling pot that is going to erupt, all right, as things get worse. So if you are in one of these major cities, make sure you get out. Make sure you are able to change potentially your life plans. I know not everyone can do that, but things are going to get worse. These events are not going to de-escalate. They're going to escalate, and they're going to happen more and more. And the solution is to just have more of a police state where you're just surveilled and tracked and traced, and there's curfews, and you can get arrested for leaving your own house after a certain time. This is the future. They want to use these events to lock down America. So let's get into the looting here. Multiple cities, so stick with me here. Multiple cities have looting, and multiple cities have curfews that aren't even these cities, all right, that the looting's happening in. So let's get into all this news here. We can see here Chicago has been hit hard, and also another city was hit hard just today as well. We will get to that in just a second, but downtown Chicago is a war zone right now. We are seeing hundreds of young people riot, burn cars, flip cars over, looting businesses, and it's complete chaos in downtown Chicago right now. Imagine what things will look like when there's more scarcity, when there's real food shortages, when there's real hyperinflation, when the dollar collapses as the world reserve currency and all these dollars flood back to the United States because nobody wants these dollars anymore. Imagine what's going to happen when we have all of these, a banking crisis, all right, a bank run, a real crisis. What are the streets of America going to look like? They're going to look hellish. That's what they're going to look like. And you can bet there's going to be hundreds of cars lit on fire when it actually is hitting the fan. That's why your best bet for survival is to get out of these mega cities, okay? So hundreds of teens cause fiery chaos in downtown Chicago as they torch cars and rampage organize on social media. And that's key. We're going to get to that in just a second, because they keep pushing this narrative that they organized on the internet and caused all this chaos, and they are going to use this as an excuse to take over the internet, and they're already doing that in some places. We'll get to that in just a second. But this is critical that they keep saying that they organized on social media. They're going to use this violence as an excuse to clamp down on social media as well. But you can see here hundreds of people were torching cars. Cars were being jumped on with people in them, buses, city buses, and it was just chaos in downtown Chicago. There was mass looting going on. Gas stations are being looted, And this is America in 2023 when there's not even an actual, a big crisis going on, some kind of emergency. We saw mass looting happening in Buffalo, New York a few months ago in December. You remember when that happened? There was mass looting. At least there was some kind of emergency there. There was a massive snowstorm and everyone had their power out and emergency services couldn't even get anywhere. These emergency services are there. They are just overwhelmed. There's so many people that the police cannot do anything. I always say this, and this is key. In a real emergency, the emergency services are not going to be able to help you because they're going to be overwhelmed. Everyone's going to be in an emergency. Maybe if you have an individual emergency, they can help you. But if there's a civil emergency, they are not really going to be able to help you individually because they are going to be overwhelmed with situations like this or mass casualty events or mass riots, mass violence. All of these things are on the table and they are not going to be able to protect you in a real emergency. That's why your best bet for survival is to just opt out of these situations and be not in a mega city so you aren't subject to these fires, this looting, things like this, your car getting trapped and jumped on. What do you do in the situation? This is a scary, dangerous situation when your car is surrounded and there are people jumping on it, trying to smash in your windshield. Very scary, very dangerous, and nobody should be put in a situation like that. Very dangerous, and it's 99.9% of the time this happens in a mega city. It doesn't happen in a rural community, all right? So let's get into this other town here that's also getting looted, and then we will get to these 3 major cities that are having a curfew as well. And we're going to talk about how Walmart is shutting down all over the country. All right, all over the country they are shutting down. Lots of big breaking news we're still going to get to in just a second. But you can see here in LA, right outside of LA, this was in Compton, a massive riot and looting happened as well at this gas station. All right, look at all these people, hundreds of people. Just look in the background of this picture. There are hundreds of people here at this event, and it was a massive riot already in the streets, shutting down the streets, and this massive gang essentially. And then they broke into this local gas station and looted it, and they were just having a good old time. You can see this guy here in the blue shirt. He's cheesing. He's got a big old smile on. This is fun to these people. Some people, it is fun for them to destroy society, tear it down, burn it down metaphorically and physically. It's fun for them to burn it down and watch it burn. And there are lots of people in our society, more every single day, that have this mindset where they want to see society collapse, all right? And it's happening right in front of us in real time, and we need to be prepared for it. And everyone can just feel it. Everyone can feel that things are getting worse. Everyone's more stressed out. This is when this guy's smiling. This guy's probably stressing out all day. He's probably mean mugging people all day, all right? And then, but when he's looting a gas station that is just a local gas station, it's probably owned by some local guy that lives in the community, he's having the time of his life cheesing about it, all right? This is just sick. Our society is sick and twisted, and it is in a decay right now. It is degenerating right now in front of us. And this gas station clerk had to hide in the bathroom. She was just hiding in the bathroom while they were looting and ransacking the store. And once again, it says LAPD deputies, quote, couldn't intervene with the giant takeover groups for safety concerns because they were, quote, outnumbered. So these groups are everywhere. They're organizing and they're showing up, and the police can't even do anything. What are you supposed to do, an individual citizen, if the police that have reinforcements, that have more weapons than anyone, more everything than anyone, they can't even stop this? They're saying we are helpless to stop this. What are you supposed to do as an individual citizen? Your best bet is to just opt out. Opt out. LA is going to be an absolute nightmare as things slowly progress and they slowly collapse. So let's get into these 3 cities that have declared an emergency curfew. And then there's one more that's talking about it. And then there's also Walmarts are shutting down. All these stores are shutting down as well due to this crime, right? Due to this violence that is happening. And I was talking about how they kept talking about how they are organizing on the internet. Look at what's happening in India right now. All right. So there was also massive violence happening in India, and they declared a curfew, and they've also been able to suspend the internet in India in this region. So this is what they want to do in the United States as well. That's why they were putting out this narrative here, that they were able to organize. I'm trying to find it over here. It says they organized on social media. All right, this Chicago riot, they organized on social media, and look what they're doing in India right now. I thought this was key because they are suspending the internet and implementing a curfew due to violence. What if they're able to do this in certain U.S. cities, saying these groups are too dangerous and they are too organized, and we need to break them up, and we need to shut down their communication channels, and we're going to shut them down on the internet. We're going to shut down the internet in this region, turn off everyone's phones in this region. They have technology to do things like this, and they already use it in India. Okay, they want to use this in the United States, but they know there would be massive lawsuits, but they have to be able to justify it. So they're going to allow these events to get worse and worse. The police are going to say, we can't do anything. We're sorry. There's nothing we can do. We're outnumbered. We're underfunded, whatever. They're going to say we can't do anything. And then they're going to use the chaos of violence. People are going to demand a solution, problem, reaction, solution. Here's the problem. Police give the reaction. Sorry, there's nothing we can do. Here's the solution. Clamp down on the internet. Clamp down on all communication. Don't allow people to organize. Clamp down on the First Amendment, which literally specifies that you have free speech and the right to assemble with other people with your free speech. And I know this is rioting, but they're going to use this to clamp down on everyone. And that's what we're going to see here. So we need to be prepared for this, and we need to be ready for a massive summer. All right. I'm worried that the summer is going to be extreme. It's just now the spring. The green grass is popping up here in Colorado. It's just now popping up, and it looks great. But the agitation is winding up as well. We already had massive riots in Atlanta, Georgia, just a few months ago. This was at the end of January, and they declared a state of emergency. They had the National Guard out there. They had everything in Atlanta, Georgia, because they were burning banks, breaking into banks. They were burning cars, burning cop cars, police cars. All these things were happening, setting off explosives in the road, like firework explosives, minor TNT, things like this, explosives in the road. This was in Atlanta, Georgia, just a few months ago. These events are going to keep ramping up, and this summer is going to be a big one. So let's get into these three cities here that are declaring an emergency curfew, and then one more is talking about it. And then we will also get into how Walmarts are closing due to this, and how this is a engineered event going on the past 3 years, how they engineered all this, and now they're going to close all the Walmarts and all the food stores, so you can't even get food as well. So let's get into the first city here out of three. Baltimore, Maryland is declaring a curfew for their youth, and this is due to massive violence, just like we've had in Chicago as well. They are declaring a curfew for it, and they are not allowing anyone that is under 18 to be outside after dark. All right, this is the start of it all, and they start with youth. They start with young people because they have less rights, because they are not a full adult. All right, that's just how it works in the United States. But then they are going to implement curfews on everyone as well. They want to expand the police state and crack down and control our movement. Also, Detroit police announced weekend citywide curfew for minors. Violators of curfew will be detained. All right, so they're even threatening to arrest minors who are just outside outside of these curfew hours. All right, just imagine your child being arrested because they're outside playing with their friends or something like that. This is the police state that they want, and most kids aren't a threat at all. 99.9% of kids aren't a threat. These are organized groups. It even said they're organized groups, organized gangs essentially, that are assaulting our cities and assaulting our businesses and looting them and burning them down. And they don't even realize that they're being used, part of a bigger plan to burn down their own communities, so their own communities starve and have no food. We're going to get to that in just a second. Philadelphia is also declaring a curfew in certain regions, all right? So around their mall in Philadelphia in the city center, they are imposing an afternoon curfew at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. So anyone under 18 is out there past 2 p.m. is subject to be arrested, all right? That is very early, and it's one of these things where this is a slippery slope, a very slippery slope to have a curfew on everyone. And you can see here in 2 o'clock, all right? Imagine a curfew 2 o'clock for adults saying you have to be in your house at 2 p.m. or you will be arrested. Remember, we already kind of had this past few years. Remember the past few years, they were telling people that they can't do certain things or they will have consequences, all right? This is the big thing that they want to implement, and they want to keep going, and they want to have an excuse for it. And also Chicago itself is now thinking about implementing a curfew too after all of this violence. And Chicago, it's very sad, all right? There are very pretty parts of the city, but there are also very toxic and devastating parts of the city when you go to South Chicago, and there's a lot of violence, okay? And this is the model that they want to implement in cities nationwide in the United States. They want to create lawlessness, and they want to destroy all of our major cities. I saw this video of an NYC subway train, all right? And it was so sad. It was so sad, guys. It was just covered in trash and just garbage and junk everywhere. And it looked disgusting. And this is NYC. This is a place where people all over the world, they come to America. They're like, oh, I want to go to the U.S. They go to NYC. They go ride the subway. And it's covered in trash. And it's disgusting. And it's sad. It's really sad. These are our major cities in the United States. And they are being run into the ground, and it's on purpose, all right? It's on purpose, and it's very sad. And the reason they are doing this is because of this, all right? This is the key to it all. They want to run businesses out of the city so you can't have any food, all right? So you can't even eat any food. You can't afford any cheap food at Walmart. You can't go to Walmart. You can't go to Dollar General. You can't do anything because they've all left due to violence, all right? And it's 0.01% of people committing these crimes, and then 99.9% of everyone else gets their Walmart taken away, all right? This is in Chicago. Walmart closes 4 Chicago locations permanently, leaving residents with fewer shopping options. The loss of Walmart pharmacy has many concerned. So 4 Chicago locations. And this is happening April 16th. April 16th. This came out the same day that all this stuff's happening, and this is why. Just a few years ago, there was mass looting at Walmart, all right, in Chicago. I saw multiple videos of it. They were from around 2020, but multiple Walmarts were being looted in Chicago just a few years ago. And this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to shut down these stores. They're trying to run them out. That's why they allow things like this to happen. That's why they allow Target to be burned down, Walmart to be burned down, because the people on top, they don't really care. They don't really care. They want to just starve us out. They want to destroy our cities. They want to collapse our society. And that's why I said at the beginning of this video, everyone can really just feel it. Everyone can feel the tension in our society and can see it degenerating in real time, can see it fall apart in real time. And it's really sad. I remember being a kid, I would just play with my friends all day long out in the middle of the road, out in the middle of the street. And there was never really any risk of getting hit by cars. There was never risk of danger, violence, kidnapping, weirdos around, or anything like that, all right? And it's just a totally different world now for our kids that they are growing up in. And everything looks different, and everything is going to be a lot different, especially in the next coming years. We know that there is an Agenda 2030, right? We know that is part of their global plan, and they announce it constantly. Agenda 2030 is their goal to set to have all of these agendas in place, all right, where you will own nothing and you will be happy. You will be a perpetual renter. There will be a UBI, universal basic income. There will be a digital cryptocurrency, a global cryptocurrency that you will have to opt into to buy, sell, trade anything. We know that they want to implement all of these things, and they are open about it. They say they want to implement them, and they say their agenda date is 2030. And that's only 6.5 years away. So they are turning the dials up, and we're going to see a lot more of this societal collapse in real time. Look at this Walmart. Portland's last 2 Walmart locations closing doors Friday. This was March 24th, 2023, just a couple weeks ago. That is so sad. That is so sad. It's giving me chills just thinking about how does Walmart close down? How does Walmart close down? It's so sad. So many people work there. So many people depend on them for food. And it's one of these things. The past 3 years, all of these small mom and pop shops have been wiped out, right? They were forced to shut down. A lot of them didn't get all of these PPP loans, all these things. They didn't get access to that, a lot of them. And they were pushed out of business. They couldn't keep up. Inflation, price increases, labor increases, all these things. They haven't been able to keep up the past 3 years. A lot of small businesses. There's been tens of thousands throughout the nation, right? And they're expecting even more in the next few years. And these small businesses have closed, and then all there is left is Walmart. The only place to go is Walmart. All the other small businesses have closed. They've all been priced out. They've all been pushed out, right, on purpose. This is part of Walmart's business tactic too, is to push out small businesses. And now the Walmart's leaving. Now there's nothing left. Now there's nothing left. There's no Walmart at all. There's nowhere Walmart to go to. There's no grocery store to go to anymore because they're all gone. There's no hardware store. There's no general store. There's no anything because Walmart pushed them all out, and now Walmart's closing. And this is all a plan. It's all engineered, and it's all on purpose. Just like how they inflated food prices, all right? They jacked up food prices. They gave everyone a ton of food subsidies to help the past few years, okay, because everything was shut down. They gave people extra money for like EBT and things like this, food stamps. They gave people all this extra money. It jacked up food prices. There's all these scarcities, all these shortages, inflation, jacking up food prices. And then they just took it away recently. They took away the emergency money, pretty much like cut it in half what people are getting. And now food prices have doubled, and people are just back to getting what they got 3 years ago. And now food prices have doubled in the past 3 years, and now they can get even half of what they got a few years ago. All right, this is what's happening on every level to Americans for everything. We're getting hit with inflation at every single point, and this is part of the collapse. All right, and we're going to see more riots, more chaos because people can't even live. People can afford to live, and people are disenfranchised. And look at Argentina. All right, they're dealing with 103% inflation in Argentina. 103%. That's probably more on par and more realistic of inflation in the United States on certain products, because we know the inflation numbers are cooked. We know a lot of them are manipulated. They don't even include key things like gas and key consumables in inflation. All right, it's mostly just like phones and computers and cars and just like things that you really don't even buy that often, that are bought once a year or once every few years at most. That's how they mostly calculate inflation, not even with monthly consumables. So our real inflation rate is probably around 100%, and it's 103% in Argentina, and they're saying they have zero capacity to save. That's how America is right now. It is very hard to save money. Everything is expensive. Gas is expensive. Food is expensive. Everything's doubling, tripling in price in the past few years, and people are getting priced out, and people are getting disenfranchised, and now their Walmarts are closing too, and that's why we are going to see more riots, more chaos, more civil unrest. And that's why you need to get out of these cities. You need to be able to grow your own food, because soon that's going to be the only option. All the stores will be looted. There will be nothing left in the stores, and the companies will not want to rebuild. That is what has happened to all these major cities where there's been mass riots, mass looting, fires. They just don't rebuild. It costs way too much money to build a whole new Walmart, whole new Target or whatever. They're not going to be profitable for 10 years, 20 years after building this, and it could get burned down again in that time. It's not profitable, and that's why all of these companies are pulling out. Whole Foods just pulled out of San Francisco last week as well. And that was their flagship store in San Francisco. And they just opened it last year, and they are now already pulling out because of extreme violence. All right. This is why you need to be able to grow your own food. This is why you need to get out of cities. All right. We are going completely off grid next month. All right. We're, 30, 45 minutes from the city right now, but we are going to be completely desolate next month. We're going completely off grid. We're going to be working on our off grid homestead, living in our RV, working on it, building it up because of things like this, exactly like this. And I can just feel it. I have a feeling that this summer is going to be chaos. There are going to be a lot of big moves that happen in the summer. That's how it always is. Big things happen in the summer, and I'm worried that this summer is going to be a big one. So make sure you are getting prepared to. Make sure you are working on getting self-reliable, self-sustaining to learning how to grow your own food, stocking up on seeds, stocking up on precious metals, stocking up on a generator, on solar, have some gas canisters filled just in case. All right. Have some extra batteries charged up just in case. Have extra cans of food just in case, extra meat. Have some packs of tuna, have some cans of tuna, have some rice just in case. You need to be getting prepared, even if it's just incrementally, little by little. You don't have to go completely off grid like I'm going, but get stocked up now, little by little, because you never know. It could be your Walmart next. Your Walmart could be ransacked. Your Walmart could be looted. Your gas station could be looted. Your food store, and then they could be closing down next. Get prepared now, guys. Get stocked up now. So if you guys want to help the channel, support the channel, please hit it up down there. It helps to get the video out, more people to see this, because the mainstream news is not covering stuff like this. They are neglecting these stories, ignoring these stories, and these stories are important because it shows where our society is and how it is degenerating and how we need to get prepared for the next wave that we are moving into. So thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.